This is an email that my team designed from scratch in Figma for a skincare brand, and I'll show you exactly how we built it, starting from zero. My name is Zach Schiefer. I'm the founder of ZHS Ecom, and my team's generated over $50 million in email and SMS revenue for our DTC clients using this exact design process. By the way, I've got 20 of these design templates for free. Link is in the video description. And at the end of the video, I'll share answers to all the common frequently asked questions, like why these emails don't go to spam, how to load them into your email platform. We'll talk about mobile optimization, responsiveness, all that fun stuff. When we're creating this email here, got a couple of key sections. The most important section is going to be at the top here. It's going to be your hero header. So we've got a very simple title, we've got some text and a button. We want all of this really to be within the first fold of the email. And then we've got a very simple body section featuring 3 different products with some nice lifestyle shots right there. So we'll kind of go from top to bottom, and then we've got a nice little footer here, again with some live text there, and then we've got a few buttons and the unsubscribe link. When starting out in Figma, we want to create a frame. So you can hit F on your keyboard, and you're going to make it 600 pixels wide. So we want it to be the base of the email here. So we'll hit 600 right there. And we'll be putting everything on top of this frame, and we can color it white for right now. I've got the assets. What I would recommend doing is pulling into Figma all of your nice images, your product shots. If ahead of time you can crop these and get rid of the background, that always helps. And then you want to put your copy into here as well. That way you're not having to drag and drop all that copy. You can at least just have it ready to go. So here's really the assets that we're working with. We've got the hero image. We've got some nice background colors that match the brand. I've already loaded in the copy. It's very simple to create that text. All you need to do is just hit T on your keyboard and then copy and paste in your text there. So I'm not going to go through that. It's pretty simple and straightforward, just adding text and then just adding those images into here. Overall, pretty simple. We've got some nice elements like this that we'll throw in. And we've got a few things that I'll share with you on how to make the text look a little bit nicer, but overall pretty clean, simple email. So where I would start is just with this header. So I would grab your image right here, and then we can just drag this right into there. You can make sure it's aligned with those little markers right there. So we'll drag that into there. You may need to do some cropping. So the image kind of started like this, but we just cropped it in a little bit. The good thing about the frames is that they're going to be 600 pixels wide. So we start with that, and we can drop that in there. And then let's grab our logo. If you want to color match it, that's amazing. So we'll grab our logo and drop that at the very top, just right there, just for branding purposes. All right, and then let's think about this text here. So we'll put in this text, but in order for that text to stand out against the background, we want to add a little bit of a drop shadow. If we have it, you can see right here, we have a little bit of a drop shadow on the bottom. Here's kind of what the specs of that actually look like. So you can see we're just adding a little bit just to make it stand out. What it looks like without the drop shadow will be like this. So let's say we don't have the drop shadow ready. You can see our designer, it just doesn't really stand out against the background as much as we would hope. So we can just go into effects, and you can add just a little bit of a drop shadow. You can change the Y. You can kind of change this a little bit, and you can increase this color if you need to. You can make it a little bit darker so it stands out against the background, just to give it a little bit more pop. So we've got the drop shadow back in there. And then now we need to kind of think about layering. This background is going to be this nice blue color. So let's just go ahead and very simply we'll hit R on our keyboard, make a rectangle, and then you can hit I to change the color. So we're going to make the rest of this email this nice blue color to match our brand guidelines. So let's just drag that throughout the rest of the email. There we go. And again, thinking about layering, we have these products that are kind of playing around with the text. So we'll put these products on top of that text, and we're kind of nicely putting the top of this product right here in between so you can still read the text. So let's go ahead and drag these guys over, drag our products into there, and then we can nicely space them out. So we'll put this guy into here. If your products don't have any sort of like drop shadow at the bottom, you can add like a little ellipse. What it looks like is just a little you make a little circle and then you blur it out basically. So you just add this little effect called a layer blur. And you can put that underneath your products just to kind of give it a little bit more depth and volume. So we like to do that with our product shots. We'll throw this into there, kind of nicely line it up. And then we'll take this guy and kind of size it just about like that. And there we are. So what we can also do is we can play around with centering these guys. So if you want to keep them centered like that, we can put this one in the middle, right in between there. And then we can take these two, and then we can move these down just a little bit. I'm hitting Y just so that it perfectly goes up and down. And there we are. All right, and then next up, we're going to grab this text. So if you're creating it from scratch, you just hit T on your keyboard, and then you'd start typing or copying and pasting your text. So we will grab that. This will just be simple body text. And what we're doing is we're making sure that the actual text, like we don't want any of this, we want to avoid any of this overhang right here. So we can just go ahead and do that and make sure the text looks nice and pretty. And again, we're using our orange dividers to make sure it's all aligned and it's in the center. What you can also do is, let's say you have these guys, you can put them into a group. You can hit Command or Control G, put these guys into a group, and then you can hit this little button to make sure that these guys are actually centered. So if they're off to the left, you can just hit that little button right there, and then you can play around with these guys to make sure it's like perfectly centered, and that this one as well is centered. All right, and then just for one of these buttons, I'll explain how we like to create these. Typically, we like to create them as basically a frame. So we can hit F on our keyboard, make a little frame. We like these to be 60 tall, and then however wide it is to fit the text. So we'll color this to match that. We want these CTAs to stand out against the background. And then our Shop Now text, what we can do is we can plug that guy into there. And then we can do Shop Now. There we go. We'll color that guy white. And then there's a couple ways that you can do that, but just very simply, you can either simply just make sure it's centered, or what we can do is we can convert this into an auto layout by hitting Shift A. And then that way, we always know that our text is right in the center. And so especially if, let's say you have a longer CTA, with the auto layout, you can play around with these on the left-hand side and you can make it shorter or wider. So that way you just create it once and your buttons are going to look nice every single time. So a couple ways that you can do that, but we'll go ahead and drag this in. Just kind of depending on what level you are in Figma, you can play around with those auto layouts. Okay, so we've got this guy right there. We're trying to match what we're doing over there. We're making sure this font is nicely formatted. And then very simply, we're going to grab our text and we'll put that guy in the center. We're thinking about kind of hierarchy of text here. So we want our headlines, of course, to be in this nice serif font, and then our body is going to be our body text. So we're just kind of aligning with our client's brand guidelines here. Okay, so that's a really solid hero section right there. I mean, honestly, like this is not a bad email. Like, you know, if you wanted to maybe add one or two things and send this out as an email, like this would definitely work. But we always want to go above and beyond for our clients. So let's talk about how to create this little section down here. So again, we're thinking of layering. So the bottom layer is going to be a very simple rectangle. And then on top of that rectangle, we're going to have some text with a little arrow. We're just going to make a circle with a number 1 and this headline. And then here with this image, we're going to round the corners just to give it a little bit of extra pizzazz. So how I would create this from scratch is just a little rectangle like this. Again, we're hitting I on our keyboard to color match it. And then we can kind of start playing around with the margins, making sure those look good. And again, we can center this guy in there. And then we're going to be adding some of this text that you can see here. The text is the more simple portion. What we like to do for these icons is you can either create it, so you can hit, in Figma, you can hit L on your keyboard, make a little line. You can hit L on your keyboard, make a little line like this. And then you can come in here and choose one of these little arrows, or you can find one of these icons online or use like an icon or some sort of text. But either way, if you wanted to create it just very simply, you could do something like this. And then let's say you want it to be something like that. You can adjust how big it is, and then you can change the color just like that. So that's another couple different ways you can create those little arrows. But in this case, this is just like it's an actual like font that we just used there. And then what we're doing here is we're just making this italic, and we're hitting Command U to underline it. And that way people know that they can actually click that. And then here, again, we're just using a nice kind of simple, clean font for this subheader, making a little circle right there. For those circles, all you hit is O on your keyboard, and you can hit Shift right there to make sure that the circle is perfect. If you don't hit Shift, you're going to get a circle like this. So you always want to hit Shift when you're creating those circles like that, or else it's going to get messed up. So again, we're hitting O and then Shift, and then we're making it color match like that. And then we can kind of align it to exactly how we want. If you mess it up, no worries, you can just change the width and the height to be the same. So again, we're kind of color matching that, and then coming in here and adding that font on the inside. So when you're said and done, it's going to look something like this right here. When we're actually cropping that image, what we're doing is we're simply, when you actually grab that image, you can bring in the corners. So that's this right here. It's these little things. So if you want it really cropped in, you can make it like that. In this case, we just want like a subtle little, 10 pixels right there. So we're adding that image in. And then at the end of the day, it's going to look like what we see on that side right there. So I'm just going to, for speed here, I'm going to add these guys in one at a time. So we'll add this guy, and then we'll center it. And then we'll take that same exact process, duplicate it across right there. And then number 3 right here. So that's an easy way to do it. And if you want to, what you can do is you can actually, let's say these guys are all crazy. Let's say they're all over the place. If you just want to hit each of these frames or each of these rectangles, however you decide to do it, what you can do is you can distribute vertical spacing. And so that way you can perfectly distribute each, and you can make sure that it's actually perfectly spaced out. And then if you want to, you can kind of use some groups and some auto layouts depending on how advanced you are in Figma. So in this case, we'll do a little auto layout, and that makes it super easy to just adjust these on the fly. And that's how, when we do it for our clients, everything is very modular. So if we needed to switch this one out, so let's say we wanted to add number 4, it'd be very easy. But again, we're just keeping things simple for today. You can hit Shift A to turn things into an auto layout, but that does get pretty advanced pretty quickly. So you don't necessarily need to do that from the start. So there we are. We're going to copy and paste this last button right here, drag this guy down. And as you can see, if you want to, you can take this entire rectangle and you can extend it to kind of keep things simple. Or what you can do is you can actually take your background and you can just color match it to right here. So that's kind of a couple different options that you can run with right there. And then this guy, we'll plug him in right there. We're careful about that auto layout. Again, it gets tricky. And then there we are. There is our email. For this, I'm not going to go through every section in this footer, but what we're doing is we're just very simply adding another rectangle, making it 600 wide as we normally do, color matching, and then adding the logo. And then each of these guys, when you want to add buttons like that, you just create your little buttons like this. We always have them 60 height is our go-to. And then what you can do is you can add a stroke, make it white, make it a little bit thicker, move that stroke to the outside, and then you can, so that's how we get that effect right there. And then again, we just add text, and then you can do some fun stuff with grouping by selecting all three of these and either putting them into a group or putting them into an auto layout. For my designers, it's always an auto layout so that we can easily shift things around like that. And then this bottom part is just going to be the unsubscribe. We're going to put the brand name, the address, anything else that we need in there. So just a quick little tutorial, but it should be pretty simple once you practice in Figma. And the good thing is about these footers, you can create it once and should be good to go from there on out. All right, so that is our completed email design. Really, at the end of the day, got to be great at adding these text sections into here, creating a couple simple shapes, some rectangles, some circles, cropping your images like this. No need to go crazy with it. It's more about your creativity. And yeah, a couple frequently asked questions that I get all the time. Number one is, how do I export and load these emails into Klaviyo, MailChimp, Shopify, etc.? So what we do here is we build the whole email as images. So we slice the designs and we want them about max 800 pixels tall per slice. We compress each slice using imagecompressor.com. We drag each of those image slices that we compressed into Klaviyo's drag and drop editor as an image block. Then for each image, the entire email is all images except for the footer. So each image is going to have a link, and then we add alt text to each of those. And then the footer is where we include most of that live text. So we have a nice balance of image and text. That way, this whole entire top portion, everything you see above the footer, this is pretty much all images. And then this footer is where we can actually add some live text, and you can add a little bit more from the About Us page. You can't see it here, but that way we have a good mix of both. But we would basically go in here and, to give you a little rundown of the workflow, we would lock this guy, hit S on your keyboard, and then you can drag these image slices. And you don't want to make them too tall, but you would take image slices like this, make sure they're 600 pixels wide, and then you can hit export for all of these. And we're going to do, this will be image slice number 1, and then you can copy and paste and do image slice number 2. So you can see like what this one looks like. Image slice number 3 will be like that. And then you just go down throughout the email, and each of these image slices, that'll be a unique link. So this whole entire section, like even if they click like right there, it'll still take them to wherever you link. Question number 2, will my emails go to spam? No. We've made our clients over $50 million with these exact types of emails. It's not a design problem. It's more of an issue with deliverability on the back end. So it's things like your sender reputation, your list quality, your back end authentication. As long as you follow exactly what we do here, you have live text within your footer. So we typically put a string of text from the About Us page. You're properly warming up your domain. You're cleaning your list. You're only sending to engaged segments. Doing all these things, you can land right in the primary inbox. I have whole videos on this exact topic called Why All Image Emails Don't Go to Spam. And if you do run into that issue, here's exactly how to fix this. So feel free on YouTube, go ahead and search these two up for way more details. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why all these top brands are using image-based emails. A lot of questions come from like, why use Figma here? Like, why not use Canva or something else? At the end of the day, Figma is basically way more customizable. You can slice way easier. Collaboration is way easier. It's way more scalable. And overall, it's just a better, more professional tool versus Canva. It's great if you're a beginner or if you're doing pitch decks and things like that. But Even like going into Canva and trying to create and like adjust the height of these emails. Like if, let's say if we did want to add bullet point number 4 down here, like that's way harder to do in Canva. So there's just so many things that are super easy to do in Figma that are impossible in Canva. Even like the slicing and all that, it's just way easier to do. I also have a full video on this called Canva versus Figma, which is better for email marketing, that goes into everything in more detail. Another question I get is the design responsive? So we design at 600 pixels wide, and the images are going to look the exact same on mobile and desktop. So you're not going to have HTML text shifting around. You're not going to have to worry really much. However it looks in Figma here, it's going to look the same on every single device. The footer, since there's some HTML text, might shift a little bit, but for the most part, the reason why we do those image-based emails is because we don't have to worry about fonts. We don't have to worry about all these different email clients. It really solves a ton of different issues. And that's why we kind of have that hybrid approach. We have the HTML text just in the footer, so that way the images on top can look the same across every single device. And when Klaviyo renders it, we're designing these emails for mobile first, so that way they're bigger text on mobile that still looks really good on desktop. The reverse is not true. If you design for desktop, it's going to get really messed up on mobile and it can look way too small. So that's why we go mobile first. Last 2 questions here. Are the buttons clickable? In Klaviyo, yes, absolutely. No matter where you click on the email, it's going to link to your website. It's going to help you make conversions. There's no like HTML buttons or anything like that. Like what you see here, we're literally just slicing all of this top section above this part right here. Everything else above is all an image. So everything is clickable. And finally here, can you share the link to the design? I've actually got something even better. I have 20 of these templates in a free Figma and Canva file. It's both Figma and Canva, no matter what you use. Link is in the video description. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you watching. Last but not least, if you are running a D2C brand and you want emails just like this for your brand, feel free to go ahead, look at zhs-ecom.com. That's my website. And we can chat a little bit more about how we can help you run your email marketing, set up your flows, set up your campaigns, segmentation, deliverability, strategy, whole 9 yards. We do it all. All we do is email marketing. We've done it for many, many years at this point. And we create nice, beautiful email designs just like this for your brand. So if you're interested at all, feel free, go ahead, book a call there, and let's chat soon. Appreciate it.